we like to check in with our great friend, Brent Beaird of College Sports Today and First Coast News, who I'm guessing since the last time we spoke, Brent, a week ago, that personal college football preview mag inventory has grown by one or two. Is that the case, Brent? How many are you up to now when it comes to the college football?
There are 3 out, and I have got 3. So quite happy about that. Lindy's, Street and Smith, that old favorite that some people forgot, and Athlon, of course, the latest one that I picked up. All 3 of those are out, so we're quite happy about that right now.
What is the consensus between the 3 in terms of, let's say, the top 3 or 4 teams in the country when you talk about predicting top 10s right now?
What's interesting is, and again, it's not number 1 anymore, it's the top 4, but Street and Smith and Athlon have Bama number 1 and Clemson 2, Georgia's 3. I mean, that's really where it is virtually in every one of them. Now, Lindy's has Clemson at number 1. 4 is a little bit different. Oklahoma at 4 for Lindy's and Street and Smith. 4 in Athlon, if you can believe this, Trav, is Michigan. So, which is interesting. Ohio State is around 5. Oklahoma obviously in there 2, as well as LSU is in the top 10 on all 3. Florida is in the top 10 on all 3. And Notre Dame is in the top 10 on all 3. Oregon's in the top 10 in Street and Smith and Lindy's, and Texas A&M is number 10 in Athlon. So that's the highest they've been ranked. If that gives you an indication of what the top 10 is, and I can tell you right now, when the Associated Press comes out in August, Trav, how familiar will that be to what I just read you?
I think it'll be very, very close to what you just read off. I also see, Brent, and we haven't talked about it this week, where Ole Miss and SEC icon Archie Manning turned 70 years old, and it looks like we got another Manning coming down the pike as far as quarterback play goes, and the potential of Archie's grandson, I guess, to be a guy that we talk about a lot, just a 9th grader for 2019, but all signs pointing towards another Manning perhaps in the Southeastern Conference at some point down the road.
Yeah, how about that? 13 years old. His name is Arch, not Archie, but Arch. Now, people may remember this. In the ESPN special on the Mannings, they interviewed obviously all the sons, and Cooper was one of them. Now, people may forget, though, Cooper, because Trav, help me on this. It was either an injury or they found a
it was an illness.
A birth defect. I forgot what it was, but there was something that prevented Cooper from playing. Archie was very emotional about that in that special, if you remember that. So this is his son, and he is already 6'1", at 13 years old, and has a really good arm. I'm sure that surprises you.
I would think that's in the DNA when it comes to the Mannings. Again, the son of Cooper. We're not quite there yet with Peyton and Eli and their kids, but Arch Manning, a name to remember, and I'm sure, if nothing else, Arch Manning might keep David Cutcliffe around in coaching, because with what we saw with Eli and what we saw with Peyton, with David Cutcliffe at Tennessee and Ole Miss, maybe Arch Manning won't play in the SEC. Brent, maybe he'll play at Duke for David Cutcliffe in 2023.
Yeah. And especially with their relationship. Obviously Cutcliffe was at Tennessee, Ole Miss, at Duke, and is extremely close to the Mannings. And frankly, for Cutcliffe, I think it could be said that he still is one of the better quarterback coaches, frankly, of anywhere Daniel Jones could certainly tell you that, and I would agree with you. I guess the question, Trav, is will Cut coach that long in order for Arch to get out and play college ball?
Yeah, I think that could be some motivation maybe for Cut here down the stretch of his career. I didn't know that this would even qualify as news, but apparently it does. Florida and Florida State renewed their rivalry through 2022. I thought that had been passed through legislature in the state of Florida that they had to play. So when I saw it on the ticker yesterday that the two will continue to play through 2022, I was thinking, how's that news? Shouldn't that be automatic that Florida and Florida State are going to keep playing?
Listen, I had the same reaction you did when, by saying, I guess maybe there's some formality to that I thought this was a yearly event, but it was trumped as the greatest thing since sliced bread yesterday. Yeah. But the other things with Florida that people may not have heard, Jalen Jones, the quarterback that got in all kinds of trouble with the alleged sexual assaults, has now moved on to Jackson State. You probably saw this and were greatly amused as I was. Jim McElwain, Trav, being interviewed about the Florida job and basically saying that he thought he wasn't a real good fit in Gainesville.
He probably wasn't, because when he showed Foley, the AD at the time, Jeremy Foley, the pictures of the Alabama facilities compared to what he was inheriting at Florida, and Foley seemed to take the stance of, well, we got to get the track right first.
Yeah,
that probably didn't make Jim McElwain.
Probably told you a whole lot about the Florida facilities. By the way, Jason Odom, former renowned Florida offensive lineman, his son Jonathan is committed to them. He's a tight end, but yes, and I thought one of the comments McElwain said that was interesting was, quote, there were people there to help, and I just didn't use them. I'm one of those guys that always trying to figure out how to fix it. Now again, in fairness to McElwain, I thought he did a really good job in Alabama, and also did a pretty good job at Colorado State. But we all know timing in life is something, and it didn't work for a variety of reasons. And look, Florida. And I've had some Florida insiders tell me this, people who played there, that if you're not careful, the job can chew you up at times, and that's kind of what happened here. But obviously now, with his being at Central Michigan, that really kind of fits a lot more who he is.
Yeah, and Jalen Jones, interesting, because he ends up, after a very short and tumultuous stint there in Gainesville, at Jackson State with our buddy Brady Ackerman. I wonder if Ackerman had something to do with that, because Brady Ackerman played at Florida, was the sideline reporter on Gator football radio broadcast, and he's now the wide receivers coach over at Jackson State, Brent, which I'm sure you know. So maybe some ties there from Florida back to Jackson State.
Brady was quite happy about that pickup.
Yeah, I would think so. Just from a pure talent standpoint out there in the SWAC conference moving forward. Hey, Brent, I see where we've got another $2 million defensive coordinator. It's about time that poverty-stricken Texas A&M stepped up to the plate with a big check, right?
Yeah, well, Mike Elko really started showing for them last year what he could do. Now, obviously, John Chavis not around anymore now at Arkansas, but Elko's got a pretty good track record. He was at Wake, and then he was at Notre Dame, and then at A&M. Now, you and I have been talking about these situations for as far as seeing this coming 5 and 10 years ago at least, And Elko now joins Dave Arand of LSU, Brent Venables at Clemson, Kevin Steele at Auburn. And I'll tell you, Trav, the reality is, if you're a really good, solid coordinator with the money that you're going to be making, I mean, you're not leaving a job like that for the jobs you would have left for 10 years ago, because frankly, Trav, he's making more money than a good percentage of 130 football coaches, is he not?
Well, and you certainly don't jump to the National Football League as an assistant. You used to see that a good bit too when college assistants had that opportunity to go to the NFL as an assistant. A lot of them would make that jump because the pay scale was greater in the NFL. That's not the case really anymore with college coordinators now joining the $2 million club. And look, these aren't 1 or 2 year deals either, people. These are 3-year deals in most instances that are fully guaranteed should the head coach hit the skids in a turnover of that staff were to take place. Brent, something else you point out here, Brock Huard, as we heard last week, leaving ESPN after 12 years. I'm a Brock Huard guy. I like Brock Huard, think he does a great job, but that's a sensible pickup for Fox. I honestly think Brock Huard's a number one guy at Fox, so to get him as sort of a number 2 there in the Pac-12, that's a really nice pickup for Fox.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. And listen, what they need to do is, to me, they need to have him not only as they need to have him in a Herb Street type role, meaning that he is a part of their morning show. And I'll just be honest with you, Trav, I'm not real impressed with the personnel on that morning show. Frankly, Reggie Bush. Now, Urban could be good if Urban wants to, but you don't know what Urban's going to be limited to or will limit himself to because he wants to get another job. Matt Leinart is okay, but listen, I'm with you. I thought, to me, when Brock Huard was on, I thought he was must listen. As far as I'm concerned, so I was very impressed that they were able to get him, and I think as far as an analyst, he goes to the top for them immediately with Fox. They needed him badly.
Yeah, the number 1 crew still Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. Will work primarily in the Big 10 and the Big 12. But Huard absolutely makes sense in terms of the Pac-12. He's based, I believe, still out in the Seattle area.
He is, yes.
So there you go. Some changes on the broadcasting front. And speaking of broadcasting college football, it looks like, Brent, the NFL Network jumping in with both feet as they do a deal with a Group of 5 conference.
CUSA, this was a pretty good deal for them, was it not? 10 games as they look around a little bit. Now, again, I know everybody and their brother does not have the NFL Network, but for that conference to make a little bit of noise, I mean, I'm sure they probably wanted more, but look, that's a good start for them. I don't think they can do anything but help that league.
So, Brent, as we let you go here, what's the next college football mag that we're on the lookout for? What's the countdown for number 4 for Brent Beaird?
Well, number 4 would probably be Phil Steele. Phil said that his would be out, frankly, at the end of June. He tweeted yesterday, Trav, I appreciate the time with Arkansas head coach Chad Morris. Listen, how many guys, Trav, can get these coaches of these Power 5 schools on the phone? And I forgot who this was, but he said he was on the phone the other day for an hour and a half with one of the Power 5 head coaches. Trav, who in the world can do that besides Phil Steele?
Yeah, and Phil likes to flex that on social media. That's called a Phil flex when he does that. Just kind of letting you know I'm still here and I'm trying to get you even better information and timely information than Athlon's, Lindy's, and Street and Smith's. That's basically what Phil's telling you.
Now listen, The Athlon, the national version, is now 300 pages. It's $11.99, and of course, Phil is what, Trav? It's at least 300. If it's not, maybe what, 350. So I've got trifocals. At some point, do I need to? If he goes to many more pages, will we all need a magnifying glass at that point?
You know, people laugh at this, but how are these not on audiobooks already? I mean, think about it.
That's a great point, isn't it?
If you like a podcast, you know, so you could just listen to the books, to the mags. I'm surprised no one's done that
yet. Guys coming to and fro from work, stuck in traffic and so forth. I think somebody would make a decent amount of money if they did that.
Yeah, you're at the gym, you know, working out, going out for that morning walk. Might want to listen to that preview mag. I'm surprised. I probably just gave somebody a $15 million idea. We do that a lot here on the program.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. And Trav, what about DeAndre Francois landing with Lane Kiffin at FAU?
Walk on though. Lane said he's a walk on. You know, that's how he sort of made good on bringing DeAndre in. But hey, just in terms of talent and ability, DeAndre Francois, if he can keep it together down there in South Florida, he can do some big things at that level. Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And we've seen, whatever you think of Lane Kiffin, you know, we've seen him do just wonders with quarterbacks and offenses. Certainly that was the case here at Alabama during Lane's stint. Hey, Brent, we're going to let you go. As always, appreciate all the great insight and info that you bring to the table. Look forward to catching you on First Coast News, also College Sports Today. Of course, Brent on Twitter. Follow him there, at Brent Beaird, BrentBeaird. Thanks as always, Brent.
Me too, buddy. Take care.